Hello YouTube, another QAZWSX2541 Blender tutorial. Today is part 2 of my how to make an FPS in Blender 2.6 tutorial. Today we will be covering adding in a gun, getting it to move around with the camera, and basically getting the gun set up. So first thing to do is, as always, open up Blender, and we're going to open up our game file. So whenever we left off, we had this cube as the player that represents the player, and a camera that you could look around in, walk around, jump, and run. And that's good. That's good for a sort of first-person game, but we want to add in a gun since this is a first-person shooter or FPS game. Now, on the last tutorial, I forgot to mention to set the boundary box for the player to box. So make sure you do that, because otherwise, if you leave it empty, the box falls about halfway through the ground. So we want to make sure to have that on box. So to get started, we're going to download our actual gun model, or if you already have one made up, that is fine too. So here we have tutorials for Blender 3D. Again, awesome site. We can go to game models. They actually have a couple of models here. We have the assault rifle or the pistol. I'll be working with the assault rifle in this case. So what we do is we right click on this link, up or left click, and save it down in here as, I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I have a folder in here for Blender files. Blender models, and then assault rifle dot blend. So now what we're going to do is go back into our blend file, and we're going to go to file. We're going to do a append. So we're going to click on that, and then we're going to work our way to the blend file. So here, assault rifle dot blend, object, click on assault rifle, and link / append from library. So here we have the model imported into the scene now. And a lot of you, the first instinct you have is to scale it up, but we're actually going to leave it about the same size, so that whenever you walk up to a wall with the boundary box, it doesn't go through the wall. First thing I'm going to do is I've already switched to wireframe mode by pressing Z, and now we're going to rotate this to line it up with the camera, so I'm going to do RZ to 70. So next I'm going to select the camera, hit Shift S, and do cursor to selected. I'm going to then select the rifle and do Shift S, and I'm going to do selection to cursor. So now I'm going to grab it forward, down, and to the right just a little bit. I'm going to switch the camera view by pressing 0, and here is where we'll basically line up the gun to wherever we feel it's good. So you can use G to grab it and move it around to wherever you believe is good. Then what we're going to do is we're going to shift select the camera and hit Control P. We're going to select the gun, and in the physics tab over here, we're going to switch it from static to no collision. So now, whenever we play the game, we now have a gun following the camera, and this particular model is pre-textured, which is really nice. But it looks a little, it looks really staticky right now. Like, it follows the camera exactly, and that's not exactly what we want. So something that I found that I personally think really improves the way this looks is by adding a slow parent. I'm not exactly sure in the new Blender how to do that. I knew how to do that in the old Blender. Let me just look for a few seconds here. So relations extra, there we go, slow parent. Put an offset of, let me try 20 here. So now whenever we move around, oh, that's really slow. So we don't want that. I mean, it could be okay, but I mean, we're not going to go too far with the slow parent. Okay, so 10's a little better. Basically, because if you're in real life, you're not going to be able to move a gun, you know, that fast. That's really, really slow, though. You're not going to be able to move a gun instantaneously with your head. I mean, you might be able to if you're like a ninja or something, but most of the time you won't. So that can add a bit of realism to it. Anyway, so you can adjust that or take it completely off. I'm going to leave that on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to enter edit mode for the gun. So tab. I'm going to select the vertices at the very tip of the barrel here. And then I'm going to hit Shift S and do cursor to selected. After that, I'm going to exit edit mode. I'm going to do a Shift S and Shift A, sorry, and I'm going to add an empty. I'm going to move it forward from the barrel just a little bit. Shift select the gun and do Control P. So then I'm going to select the empty, go into the object tab here. I'm going to rename that one to Ray. So now we're going to start adding a little bit of logic. So we're going to add a new script. I'm going to name this script aim. Let's go ahead and just name it aim. And I'm going to shift select the camera. Now I'm going to select the camera, then shift select the ray. Add a sensor. This sensor will be a ray sensor. And I'm going to use the positive y-axis with a range of, let's do 100. And it'll look for the property obj for object. So it'll basically go through anything that we don't have assigned object. So then the sensor's already named array. So now what we'll do is we'll select the camera, add another controller, and this one will be named Python controller, and this one will run aim. So we're going to shift select the empty, wire that ray sensor into the aim controller, and actually I'm going to change this up a bit. We're going to use a module. Well, yeah, we'll just leave it. Okay. So the first thing we need to do in the script is we need to get the ray sensor. What we'll do here is do import game logic. On the next line we'll do cont equals game logic dot get current controller, not controller. Something doesn't look right there. Probably misspelled. Next line, own equals cont dot owner. Okay. Then after that we do ray equals cont dot sensors ray. Just like that. Pretty much the same as the first script run through. Also, you can just import this script if you want to make sure it's word for word correct. So anyway, So then skip a line or so, and we'll do if ray.positive. So we want to check to make sure the ray is actually hitting an object. We'll do obj for object equals ray dot hit object. Actually, we don't need that. We don't need a hit object. What we will do is do a pos equals ray dot hit position. Okay, so the way our script here is going to work is by it'll have a ghost object that will always be at the end of where the ray is hitting or where the bullet would appear. And then whenever we fire, it will create a bullet at that ghost object. So this isn't the whole, object shooting through or going really fast and going through half of the objects in the scene. So anyway, so first thing we need is a ghost object. So what we'll do is do a Shift A, add a mesh cube, move it out here, enter edit mode, scale it down, go to the physics tab, enable collision bounds of box. Okay, so then in the object mode we will name this object aim. I'll just name it aim. Okay, so what we'll do up here is we'll also, in the script, we will also import the scene to get that object. So what we'll do is we'll do scene equals game logic dot get current scene, open parentheses, close parentheses, oops, misspell, and then we will do down here in the if ray.positive, we will do obj equals game logic dot, no game logic, scene dot objects, open bracket, apostrophe, aim, apostrophe, close bracket, I believe, yep, lowercase. So then what we do is, down below the pos equals ray dot hit position, we will do obj dot world position equals pos. So that should work then, except for we don't have any objects on here with the property obj, so let's do that. Enter the view mode, go ahead and play. Okay, so you see it kind of snaps around, but it only snaps the instant that the ray hits the plane or the object. That's because we didn't turn pulse mode on. So I'm gonna do that. There it is. So we're gonna just turn on pulse. So now whenever we hit play, whenever we move over an object, the aiming object moves along with it. Now you could also attach sort of a sight to this object as well. So next what we'll do is I'm gonna add in a few objects here. So we're gonna do Shift A, add a cube, physics tab, let's enable a rigid body, collision bounds box. I'm just gonna make a few of them. Just for get something else sort of in the scene. Oh, forgot to add the property. So add the property obj, property obj, and add the property over here obj. So right now because that little box we have, our aim object, has physics enabled, it as soon as we touch those other boxes, they go all crazy. So what we actually want to do is turn this guy into a ghost. So he'll snap to them, but it won't make the other boxes go all crazy. Okay, so the next thing we want in this aim script, now I'm kind of thinking we should have named it different things. So next is we're going to add a sensor to the camera. This is going to be another mouse sensor. This will be a left button, and we will do a tap, and we'll wire that into aim. And up here, just under the race sensor, we will do fire equals cont.sensors fire. I'm going to rename that sensor down there to fire so that it matches. And also to the camera, we're going to add ammo, and that will be an integer. We will also add clips, and that will also be an integer. So I'll set ammo up to be 15 for now, and clips I'll do 3. So what we'll do down here is we will do a if fire.positive. So if we're trying to fire, then we need to check to see that we have ammo. We will do an if ammo is greater than 0. So otherwise, if we in other words, if we have ammo, we will activate a controller, but we don't have that controller yet. So we'll shift select the aiming object, add an actuator. This will be an edit object actuator, and the default is add object, and that's what we will use, but not quite yet. And we will name this one bullet. Okay, so if ammo is greater than 0, we will do a cont.activate, open parentheses, apostrophe, bullet, apostrophe, and close parentheses. Also, if the ammo is greater than 0, and if we're firing and the ammo is greater than 0, we want to create the bullet and then subtract 1 from the ammo. So what we'll do then is do an ammo equals ammo minus 1. And actually, well, yeah. So then what we'll do down here, after that, we'll do another statement. We'll do an else if statement. So else if, otherwise if ammo is not greater than 0, or if it's equal to or less than 0, we want to check to see if we have any clips. So what we'll do is else if clips is greater than 0, otherwise if we have more than 0 clips, we will do an ammo equals 15. You could adjust that depending on what type of clip size you want to have, or you could add a property to the camera that specifies the clip size for that particular gun, which I may cover later. So we do ammo equals 15, and we do clips equals clips minus 1. And then down here in else, so that's if neither of those are true, we'll probably play a sound. So we'll add an actuator, a sound actuator, and this sound would basically be maybe a click for an open, for a sort of empty cartridge, type of a sound. So what we'll do is type in empty for the name of that. So else we will do a cont dot activate open parentheses apostrophe empty apostrophe and close parentheses. Okay. So okay, that should have that part working. Now we will want to add a delay in here so that the player can't sort of spam click, unless if this is a semi-automatic gun. In fact, for now, just to keep it simple, this will be a semi-automatic gun. Later I can cover automatic or semi-auto with sort of a delay in between firing. So what we'll do now is we'll switch to the second layer. We'll hit a Shift A and we will add a mesh, and it will be a cube. We're going to enter edit mode, scale it down. We're going to put this collision balance to box and leave it at static. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select our empty object. Oop, wait, sorry. We're going to want to select that cube in the second layer, go to object mode and name it bullet. We're also going to want to add the game property bullet. So back into the first layer, we're going to select our object named aim. That's the little cube that flies around. And that edit object actuator, the actuator named bullet, the add object actuator, we're going to select the object bullet. And the time we're going to set to 1. So it'll only last 1 frame. Okay, so let's try this out. I'm going to hit P to play. So our box still moves around onto the other boxes, and whenever we left click, it doesn't appear to be working. So I'm going to go to help, toggle system console. Oh, I forgot. We need to define the properties here. So you see we're trying to see if ammo is greater than 0, but of course the script has no idea what ammo is. So what I'll do up here is we're going to import them. So we'll do ammo equals own open bracket apostrophe ammo apostrophe close bracket. Same with clips. We'll do clips equals own open bracket apostrophe clips apostrophe close bracket, and spell. Okay, so now we're going to go down here to the end of our script, and we're going to do just the invert of that. So we'll do own apostrophe own open bracket apostrophe ammo apostrophe close bracket equals ammo, and the same with clips. Own open bracket apostrophe clips apostrophe close bracket equals clips. So now we can try again, and whoa, so you can see they really fly away there. I think it may be because this cube's really big. Let's scale the bullet way down. Hit play again, and they still fly way off. But you know, that's okay. So what I can try to do to fix that is go to the physics button. We can turn the damping down on those objects. Nope, still flies far away. We could turn the maximum velocity up. I mean that's kind of sloppy as far as I'm concerned, but could turn the mass up, possibly. That may work, may not. Yeah, if anybody has a suggestion for that, I mean, go ahead and post it in the comments, and well, yeah, look in the comments as well, just for some advice. Now, if you didn't want them to fly all over the place, we could activate ghost here on the bullet object. That would make so they won't fly away. But I mean, that also can take away from some of the realism. Anyway, well, I guess actually a bullet would probably fly right through boxes, wouldn't actually push them. I guess it depends on the size. Later on, may add a script, a sort of force script, so that whenever a bullet hits an object, it decides how much force to put in, or how much force to apply to the object and in what direction, and all of that sort of stuff. So let's add, let me just demonstrate that this is working. So we'll add a sensor to one of the cubes here. I'll choose this one. This sensor will be a collision sensor, collision with the property bullet. Add a controller. This will be an AND controller. And for a quick demonstration, I'm just going to use an edit object actuator. I'm going to do an end object actuator. So whenever it senses a collision with a property bullet, it ends itself. Or yeah. So you can see the bullet is working. And also, if we don't want this sight, I mean, we could have it, and we could actually change this into like a sphere by doing a modifier subdivision surface and apply. And then if we do smooth and change it to like a bright red material, I mean, you could use this as possibly like a I'm gonna scale it way down, and I'm gonna turn on shadeless here. You could use it as possibly like a sort of a laser sight type of a deal, or if you go to the physics tab, we can turn on the invisible and you just don't see it. Okay, so that's, I mean, you've got the start of a basic FPS game. You've got a guy that can walk around with a gun, one gun right now. Later on we'll add in a second gun, possibly the pistol. And you can shoot these boxes. Right now they don't go anywhere. It'd be nice, so later on we'll add in a force script so that objects such as these boxes actually react to the bullet hitting them. Also later on we'll add in bullet holes and health. I actually kind of feel like adding in health right now. Well, you know what, we'll add in health for the cubes, do a whole section on sort of a object that isn't the player, sort of a thing, like bullet holes and sparks maybe, muzzle flash, should have muzzle flash, and a recoil animation as well. Okay, well, I thank you very much for watching. This has been how to make an FPS game in Blender Part 2. Yeah, thank you again for watching. Peace.